And this is a point I was hoping to make during the podcast, but never came up. But now that we've talked about the sun and interpreting information and all that, I'm going to take a liberty here and
Take
go
it.
off on my little tangent.
Take the leap.
So we were asking before, what is life? Is it even its own separate entity, or is it just part of matter that the planet's made up? And I think it's significant enough as just a category. If you look at existence, information is very imperative into the functioning of the universe. Even black holes that seem to erase information eventually decay, eventually explode, and the information is released back into the universe. Information is like the universal constant of the universe. What this means is that existence is your ability to process information. So going back to the black hole, all a black hole can do with information is absorb it. Right? It can't build a skyscraper. It can't photosynthesize the photons. It just absorbs it and holds on to it as long as it can until its natural processes rip it apart in a gigantic quasar of some kind. And then you look at stars. Well, these are a bit more sophisticated. They are still absorbing their information, but then they're also able to synthesize. They can turn hydrogen into helium. They can turn helium into carbon and oxygen and iron. So they're able to more intricately process the information they receive. Then you look at planets. Well, planets can form atmospheres out of gas, and they can separate the gas from liquid and solid into continents and oceans and atmospheres. And so now you have like wind cycles and rain cycles, and you have tectonic plates. So now the information they're receiving is even more intricately deciphered and interpreted. And then you get into life itself. And this is where I think, life technically in this analogy is not different than a black hole or a sun. But it's a very good line to draw in the progress of being able to process information and to declare existence. So the existence of a sun, the existence of a black hole, the existence of a planet is a very limited existence because it has very limited capabilities of processing information. But when you get to life, well, now life is photosynthesizing light into sugars. It is developing emotional connections to other life forms. And then you get to consciousness, where you're able to actually create information. You're no longer just a reactive node in a field of information. Now you're manipulating and purposing and creating new information that has never been there before. Skyscrapers have never been there before. Synthesizing new molecules that have never existed and could never exist without life. You could never get, a polybutanate or whatever you want to call it, like some really complex molecule out of a sun or out of a planet. You need life to synthesize these things. And then consciousness is one step further past life, where now you're able to philosophize, you're able to speculate. We can think of things like impossible figures, where some figure that only works two-dimensionally, but only if it's representing something three-dimensionally. It has no application at all to the real physical world, but we've managed to create them because we have this ability to create new information and process information so effectively and so intricately that we're able to produce things that nothing else in the universe can produce, which leads us into that responsibility we were talking about. Even if we are or not contributing to the warming of the planet, even if we are or not causing the sixth mass extinction, they're happening. Ocean levels have been rising for the last 15,000 years, obviously before we started industrializing the planet. And I would say that the data suggests we are increasing the rate at which things are warming up and that ice caps are melting and sea levels are rising. But even if we weren't, it's still happening. And as intelligent, sentient beings that are able to observe, analyze, and contemplate the implications of this information, it is our responsibility to do something about it, even if we're not the cause of it.